Okay, everyone. Well, it's 7:05, so I'm going to, if people join us, that's great. If not, this will be recorded, so it will be available to people that were not able to make it this evening, because we know that we are dealing with the whole country, even the whole world, that are such amazing Blue soldiers and helpers of Hat Not Hate, helping myself, Dennis, and so many of my other team members spread this message of Hat Not Hate. So I want to thank you all for coming this evening and just your interest in wanting to learn more. And this will be recorded. Hopefully it will be up by tomorrow afternoon on the Hat Not Hate Facebook page, as well as on our website by early next week. So I will try and get it to you as soon as possible. In the interim, I'm going to introduce you to my lovely partner in crime, Dennis Miralda, who is our educational director of Hat Not Hate. And I know that I see some very familiar faces and names here that now I'm placing to faces from the She Show and also just the Hat Not Hate community. And I know that you may have met Dennis, but for those who haven't met Dennis, I wanted to really take the time here to introduce him and give a little bit more of a reintroduction, because now that we are going into hat season for Hat Not Hate, I wanted to take the time to kind of circle back, introduce Dennis, talk about what he does and what truly our mission is here. And I don't know if there are any Hat Not Hate drop-offs here or makers, but either way, we are going to address next steps so you all can hear what you can do and how you can continue to spread this message. So I think I covered all my points, and then we're gonna, we'll have time for some Q&A at the end, but it should be about a half hour. And because, you know, it's Thursday night, I'm sure there's great TV on this evening. I mean, who am I kidding? I mean, like, let's be real here. So Dennis, I'm gonna hand it over to you. So why don't you tell us a little bit, as the Hat Not Hate Educational Director, what is it that you do for Hat Not Hate?
Well, thank you very much, Shira. It is a pleasure to be here. And to see everyone's faces here. I've been on the She Show a couple times now, and been in events where I don't really see people face to face. So being able to see people, it's really nice to be able to connect in that capacity. So like Shira mentioned, my name is Dennis Morolda. I'm Megan's older brother. So if you know Meg, Meg is my little sister. I'm 9 years older than Megan. And a little bit about me. So I was a former principal. I was a principal for almost 14 years. Most of them were in middle school. And I kind of left the education profession in public administration in 2019 to start working kind of on my own a little bit. I left to do some consulting work, some coaching work, mostly around social emotional learning. And what I started to do was travel around the country and work with teachers to help them build community, to help them manage behaviors, to engage students in their learning environment. It was something that I was really passionate about. Fast forward, I met Shira through Megan, and Megan told me that Shira was up to something really cool. When I was in middle school, I was the victim of bullying, as was Shira when she was in elementary school. So it definitely resonated with me, and I connected with her on that level, kind of sharing a similar experience with her. And so I had a meeting with Shira. It was in February of 2020. It was right before the world changed. And we sat down and started talking about ways that I might be able to assist Hat Not Hate. From my previous experience as an administrator working in a school district for over 20 years. And then also my work as a consultant, as a coach, and doing virtual or doing assembly programming, a lot around character education. So we connected, and I started working with Shira, helping them design some programming and also to connect Hat Not Hate with school districts. Kind of working as an administrator, I knew what to expect, what schools would want to hear as far as developing an assembly program. And then once we went into lockdown and things like that, we had to quickly shift our focus and said, okay, let's try to do this in a virtual capacity. Now, what can we do to really spread this message of anti-bullying and making sure that everyone can still receive, this great message, this great campaign, but do it in a virtual capacity. And so we kind of shifted things a little bit. And in my own profession, I started working with people virtually. So it was a good combination of me doing things virtually, kind of understanding what you needed to do to connect via Zoom. And then also kind of being Shira's sidekick with this educational campaign. And so we've been working really hard over the last couple of months to make sure that we were able to develop and facilitate a really cool, engaging virtual assembly. So that's kind of what I do as far as, how I got involved with Hat Not Hate. Right now I work closely with administration in different school districts, making sure that I'm the conduit between the schools and then everything that goes on at Hat Not Hate, making sure that it's a seamless transition as we develop a program and then facilitate programs within the school system. That kind of said it. I mean, it was
you just killed that, Dennis. So that's just a little bit of a background. So on our website, when, if there is a school that wants to get in touch with Dennis, and we'll touch on that when we get to the Q&A, but I want to, Dennis is really the person that is taking your amazing hats that are either being collected at your drop-off point, or they, or the hats that are being sent to Hat Not Hate. Those hats are then being, allocated by Dennis to different schools around the country. So we are always looking for more places, widespread all around the country. We're not yet at the world, but don't worry, one day we will be. We are looking as far and wide, from New Jersey all the way to California, from Hawaii to, I'm trying to think, to, Illinois, and everywhere in between. So really it's a matter of finding schools and wanting to really just spread the message and spread these amazing blue hats that you guys have all created and collected. So what I'm going to do is, actually, we have a quick little video to share with you, which is a 2-minute preview of what our 15-minute virtual assembly is. So when we go to schools and we bring Hat Not Hate there, and students get hats, they don't only just get hats, they get an assembly. This now virtual assembly that then follows up with a conversation with Dennis, myself, and students that are involved in that virtual assembly. So there's more. The most important thing, yes, was getting the hats, but understanding why they were getting the hats and what is the purpose of the hat. And that your hard work as the maker, as the drop-off points, as the blue soldiers, as I refer to you, does not get lost, because it is so important. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see how this works. Okay, hopefully, well, we didn't test out the sound before, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully you all can hear this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dennis Miralda, and I am the Educational Director for the Hat Not Hate campaign.
Hat Not Hate is an anti-bullying campaign that I started a few years back.
A year ago, I joined the Hat Not Hate campaign with the idea that together we can work to help end bullying.
Being a brand ambassador in the yarn industry, I wanted to find a way to end bullying, but also include makers. And then I thought about hats. And that's why we have the name Hat Not Hate. When you unravel the E of hate, you have a hat. And that's what I've asked makers around the world to make for me, for you. A blue hat, because blue is the anti-bullying color. And now one of my friends is going to tell you what Hat Not Hate means to them.
This is the Crochet Boss, Maurice Green, UFC heavyweight, stopping in just to tell you what Hat Not Hate means to me.
Hi, I'm Brittany Levine. I'm a style and trend expert that goes on a lot of your favorite morning shows like Today's Show, Good Morning America, Wendy Williams, talking all things style and fashion.
Hey, I'm Dr. Mikey Fowlin. I am an actor, I'm a poet, I'm a psychologist, I'm a motivational speaker, but more importantly, I am a fellow traveler with you in this life.
Hat Not Hate means a lot to me. It's a campaign that is trying to make people aware of what's happening in the world, like how people are getting bullied or in school, on the computer, like everywhere. And I'm happy that they're here trying to make a change.
Today, you're going to have the opportunity to have an experience in a virtual assembly. The virtual assembly will teach you about the Hat Not Hate campaign. We'll explain to you what the blue theory is, and hopefully we'll motivate you to get involved in your school, in your community, and in the world to work collaboratively to help stop bullying.
you can find out more information about Hat Not Hate at hatnothate.org. And remember, every hat makes a difference.
So that's just a little example and a little sneak peek as to what our 15-minute assembly encompasses, and really talks about my story, Dennis's story, and you know, talks about the blue theory, which is something that is really awesome that Dennis helped us create. So I wanted to kind of give you guys an opportunity to just kind of hear from us. And also I have some questions that I've already thought of, because I know how you makers think, and I have them already set. But if you have any questions, do put them in the chat, and Dennis and I will get to them. And again, as I mentioned, some people joined you know, after we started. If you did miss it, this is being recorded and will be posted on our different platforms, and we will let you know where. But we wanted to try and get everyone here so everyone can understand what we're doing this year, because 2020 was such an odd year, and now we're going into 2021. So my first question that I've already thought of for all of you is, I am not ready to announce an updated hat count, because I want to officially move into June. When we get into June, that's when that's the beginning of hat season for me. That's when the influx of hats start coming in, because we have that deadline of August 1 for blue hats. So keep on making those beautiful blue hats. In regards to the hat count from last year, the 32,531, I have been guarding those blue hats with my heart and with my bare hands. And they are safely in Hat Not Hate headquarters. And they are, those 32,000 are rolling into 2021 with the other, hopefully, thousands of hats that are going to be coming through. So my goal is that by August 1, we will have 100,000 beautiful blue hats to then spread all over this country. So that is the goal with that. Now, in regards to drop-off points, and this is something that is going to, it's a multi-step process here. Dennis is always looking for schools that want to participate in Hat Not Hate. Does not always mean that a school that wants to participate gets chosen, because they also, their mission, their ethos has to be in line with what we believe in. And so that's a very important element, that yes, we want to reach schools far and wide, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they always get chosen. And I will also say that, you know, a lot for the drop-off points that are present here this evening and that are listening to this, this is something that Dennis and I had talked a lot about, is because we want Hat Not Hate to be national. We want to go as far and wide as possible. And the Hat Not Hate drop-off points are really important for that, because they are helping spread the, Ty is agreeing with me, that they are helping spread the message and reaching out to makers far and wide. So there is no question in my mind that Hat Not Hate drop-off locations have schools around them. If you are a Hat Not Hate drop-off location and you want a school to get involved with Hat Not Hate, and they are in your county, your community, whatever it may be, rather than sending maybe you're just a drop-off point and you collected 20, maybe you really put some, you know, you help me with this mission of collecting thousands of hats, and you help me in reaching out to that school and connecting Dennis here to that school. And then you don't have to send those hats back to me. That number that you collect goes to our count, and those hats go to that school. So there's always the question of, some of these drop-off locations come back with, we've collected 1,000 hats. Can you help us ship it back? That's very challenging for everybody, and I love the passion, but there's no question in my mind that there's schools, even if you connected us to, I'm sure you have makers in your yarn shop, in your, you know, from your drop-off locations that have that have kids that go to schools. You may not know them, but it's really all about, you know, chatting with your makers. Dennis, do you want to kind of add to that?
Sure. It's a great point, Shira. And I think the best way to go about handling that situation is if there is a school that you're connected to in that area and you are a drop-off point, making sure that there is someone in that school in a leadership position that would be able to kind of give the green light to the project. Last year when I started, there were so many people that reached out saying, I really want my school to be involved in this. So I would reach out to the school, and a lot of the schools were like, what are you talking about here? I'm not quite sure what Hat Not Hate is, what it's about. So I'd have to go through the process of explaining it. And some of them said, that's great. And some of them said, that's not for us. We're not interested in that program. Believe it or not, that people would not be interested in this free program. That's really unbelievable. There are schools out there that are not interested. So if there's a way that you might be able to just get in contact with the school initially and just connect us together, let them know what we're about. This way they can kind of vet us on their own, kind of see what we're about. And then once they're ready to reach out to me, and then I'll, you know, start that process, making sure that we can connect with them. And again, if it's a location where it's near you, locally, geographically, it makes sense. We definitely want to support your local communities, making sure that you can actually see kids on the street wearing the hats that perhaps you made yourself. That's a really important thing for us. But being able to connect me to a person in the school, a teacher, an administrator, a counselor, something like that, that I could start that process. That's really what we're looking for here.
100%. And I think the other point that is important to talk about is the fact that Dennis tapped into something that a lot of people are very surprised about, is that this is free. Yeah, free, like free. We are bringing this program, an assembly. We are giving them these hats. There's no money going. It's not tied to It Gets Better here. This is us on the ground as blue soldiers ourselves, just going out and spreading the message. There are not enough schools out there that are bringing awareness to anti-bullying, and that is what we are doing. And I don't want dollar bills to stand in the way of that. So this is a free program that we are offering to schools far and wide. And it is just, it's important to know that, because when I've told people that, they're like, Shira, are you aware that you could charge thousands of dollars for this? And I am. However, it's not something I'm interested in. I'm interested in getting these kids on board with understanding how important it is to be kind. And the fact that you all have spent so much time making these hats, that time is dollar bills to me. So that's what I want you to understand and know. Someone said, what does the school assembly programming? Who does the school assembly programming? So Dennis, I'm gonna bring that back to you. How did we kind of land on the assembly and what we're talking about in there?
Sure, so with the assembly programming, what we do is we will communicate. We've done one live, actually we did 2 live assemblies, one for middle school, one for an elementary school, with a follow-up visit to the She Show for a select group of students. But this pre-recorded assembly can go viral pretty much. I mean, once we connect with a school, we will give them access to this pre-recorded assembly. So the pre-recorded assembly is basically me and Shira with other guests that you saw, kind of adding their experience with Hat Not Hate and with bullying into the mix. And then what we're going to try to do is have a follow-up discussion with that school, because really the hats are unbelievable. The assembly is awesome, but what happens is the call to action with the students. So after they've heard the stories, after they've seen the assembly, after they've received and worn the blue hats, now what's next? Now what can they do? That call to action to make sure that they're understanding it and they're putting those really positive feelings, the vibes that they're getting after the assembly. What are they going to do in their school, in their classroom, in their community, in the world? Like we're really pushing them to what's next? What can we do next? And that's really where the magic, in my opinion, from that assembly program happens, is what are the next steps that can really, get them moving and doing something positive for the world.
And that's really what the assembly is about. And that's something that we never had before until Dennis came on. And we have, someone asked about the drop-off locations. Drop-off locations are a place where, yes, if there is a place on, for instance, Nitty City in New York, in Manhattan on the Upper West Side is a drop-off location. you can take your hat and bring it there, and that's good too, and they will send it to us. However, there are drop-off locations and there are groups around the country that make so many hats that come to me and say, can you help ship it to New Jersey, which then I then ship back out, which just seems silly if you ask me. And so now I'm saying, well, maybe there has to be a school in your community that I don't know about that I want to get involved with. So rather than, for instance, a drop-off location in California sending me their 500 hats, well, that's silly. We'll count those 500 hats, and then we will help you facilitate the communication between said school and us so that they're on board with Hat Not Hate. That's really what it's about, because you guys are so passionate. The people that are here right now, you guys are the real deal. And for the people that are not here and are watching, you guys are also the real deal. You are helping me spread this message. You are helping Dennis spread this message. So we can't do it without you. And we feel your passion far and wide. So we know that there are schools that you know about that we don't. And I know that there was a question here, are there schools in Virginia? We don't just pick one school in Virginia. Yes, my ultimate goal is that at least one school in every state has a Hat Not Hate program. But hey, if 3 schools in Virginia want to participate with Hat Not Hate, I am so here for this. So I think that that's very important to know.
A couple other things I just wanted to mention from the comments in the chat window. As far as having Hat Not Hate like ambassadors at a state level, we're absolutely in favor of that. Since this is our first time going through with a virtual assembly in the fall, our focus is really to facilitate the assembly programming and then have that follow-up communication with the school. But we are certainly on board with bringing this to the entire country. Like, our belief is eventually this should be something that every school should participate in, kind of like how DARE program was with anti-drug or drug awareness. We feel like this is such a positive message that every school should have this in some capacity, in some shape or form, and it would only strengthen that school community. As far as does every student and or teacher in a school get a hat? Unfortunately, that's not the case. What we're trying to do is look at a school, say, in a school district and say, Freeport, New York, I saw it up there. Maybe every year the 5th graders in the school get a hat. And that just becomes a thing where maybe there's 150 kids, but it's a rite of passage for the kids in that grade level, maybe connects to the curriculum, and it becomes something that, they kind of go through as a 5th grade student perhaps. Because if we were to, some schools have, 7,000 kids and, 800 teachers. So if we were to give every single student, every single teacher in a specific school district, that would really kind of, take up the majority of the hats that we have collected. So we're trying to be very specific, and a lot of that is the conversation I'm trying to have, kind of vetting the school, talking with the school administration, and then bringing Shira into those conversations as well.
And then there's another question about after the assembly, what happens when the children have questions? Is there dialogue for the coordinator? 110%. Yes, that is something, that is why it is imperative that these schools are on board and that we are talking with the high level of the school, and then it trickles down to the teachers, to the other people that are involved. And Dennis, I'll give that back to you. Oh, he's frozen. He looks like he's saying something very important though. Am I frozen? I don't know that I'm frozen. I think I'm still talking.
No, you're not.
No, okay, great. So I think that what I want to say to everyone here is that there are lots of, we try very hard to make sure, and like I said before, in regards to the fact in picking different schools, that we make sure very much that they are on board with that we are on board with their way of schooling, and that they're on board with our way, and that the ethos is matched. So that's important when it comes down to when you're looking at, kids having questions afterwards and wanting to know more, and how, and maybe this sparks them to say that I'm being bullied or whatever it may be. We are in tune with the administration to make sure that kids do have a place and that it is a safe space for them to go and talk. So that is something very important to us, because sometimes, just like I'm sure you all have had experiences where someone kind of brings something to light and you're like, well, yeah, me too. And that's why, especially for young kids, and especially because this is very in their face, that we want to make sure that it is a safe space.
I'm sorry, Shira, I got booted out for a second. I'm sure you answered that question with fidelity.
It's okay. Welcome to 2021. But I think that also someone asked another question here. My daughter sent an email request to Hat Not Hate with contact info for a teacher that she spoke with. Is this the correct way to contact? I'm not sure. Usually any contact in regards to Hat Not Hate and schools usually gets forwarded on to Dennis. But if you go onto our website and there is a tab that says Get Involved, and if you want to, if for schools, and that's where Dennis's email is, and you can email him directly.
So real quick, to Judy's question. So if your daughter sent an email request with contact for a teacher at a school, I would say the best way to handle it is to contact the school and have the school contact me. I would say that situation happened about 50% of the time, where someone reached out to me last year and said, oh, my daughter's school really wants to be involved, or my granddaughter's school really wants to be involved with this. And then I contacted the school and they were like, I'm sorry, we're not interested in that program, or we can't do it next year. So for us, just like for logistic purposes, if the request for the program could come directly from the school, and more than anything, the administration in the school, there might be a fourth grade teacher who's really gung-ho about this, and then I contact the administration, they're like, no, we're not going to do that. So if there's a way that the school administration, the principal, the supervisors, the superintendent, someone like that could be involved at an early stage. What it does is, the education department is me and Shira pretty much, and we're trying to do this nationally. So if there's a way that we can kind of streamline that process where it comes directly from someone in the school that could say, yeah, we're going to do it, or no, we're not going to do it, that just logistically, it makes the process a lot easier. And just to circle back around really quickly, before the assembly actually happens in the school, I reach out and I basically have a conversation with the school administration, the counselors, maybe a couple teachers, to give them kind of like almost like a morning meeting or advisory type thing to kind of help them prepare the students for the assembly. And then there's a follow-up as well. So there's like a lesson that comes before and then a follow-up lesson. So it's not just a shot in the arm standalone moment. It'll have some traction on both sides.
These are all wonderful questions. If there are, if there are any other questions, I'm seeing, hold on, if you want to maybe, I'm going to make an announcement. I'll let Dennis read that. Looks like a school one, so I'll let him read that. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat so we can get to them. And if not, always know that you can email info@hatnothate.org. And we will try and answer your questions. And as mentioned earlier, if you have a connection to a school, or you are a school administrator and you want to bring Hat Not Hate there, we do have a lot of schools signed up. It's not like we're starting from scratch. Just want to make that very clear. We have a lot of schools signed up, but being that we have more schools, and also as we start Hat Not Hate season, as I like to call it, hat season now. My hat season is in the summertime, not so much in the wintertime. I think it's very important just to understand what Hat Not Hate is, and it's not just me collecting blue hats. It's way more than that.
And to answer Lisa, thank you for that question. It's is there a possibility of a lesson plan or video instead of the school-wide one? Absolutely. So once we provide that virtual assembly to the school, we'll have communication with the school. They'll let us know the time frame that they're going to be facilitating that assembly. We'll schedule some kind of a follow-up, but then the school has the autonomy. They can either do it as a school-wide thing, or maybe they say to the fourth grade teachers, okay, over the course of the next week, here's the video that you're going to show, and you can kind of include it in your daily, lesson planning that might jive with the lesson of the day or something like that. So that was one of the biggest things about doing that pre-recorded assembly, was giving schools the autonomy, where now it doesn't have to be a face-to-face thing. We will eventually be doing that again. But now we can reach a wider geographical area, because we don't have to be in Virginia one day and Oregon the next day or something like that.
100%. I want to thank you all for your questions, for you all coming this evening, for you all being a part of this mission. As mentioned before, if you want to reach out to Dennis, you can also reach out to Dennis at hatnothate.org. And if you have general questions about Hat Not Hate and you are a drop-off point and you were here tonight, but maybe your questions didn't get answered, you can email info@hatnothate.org. You can also email me, Shira, at hatnothate.org. There's so many people you can email. We just want you to be as informed as possible, just so you know how much we appreciate all the work that you are doing, because this is truly teamwork. We cannot do what we are doing without what you're doing. Goes both ways. So you all need to know that, and that's very important. And that's why we wanted to give this time for you to kind of speak to us directly, because, you know, coming on the She Show and, you know, unboxing, sometimes it just doesn't get answered. So I just, please be the ambassadors that I love that you are, and spread this message. And as I said, we will try very hard to get this up on our Facebook page as well as on our website. And we will let you know where it is when it is up. But thank you again. And I just see a real quick question there. The assembly that we just showed you before is a preview. That's something that we send to schools when we're explaining what the assembly is, but the actual assembly itself, the virtual part, is 15 minutes. And then the part of Dennis and I interacting possibly with the kids, if that's what we end up doing with the school, can be anywhere to another 15 to 30 minutes, but not long, because we all know our attention spans. And kids, my attention span is maybe a little bit better than someone who's 15. Like, I don't know, a little bit, not that much. So we really try and make it to the point, fun, interactive, and current. So that's really our mission here. And I want to thank Dennis so much for his time, his energy, and just his creativity in kind of making Hat Not Hate something that I could have, the whole educational element, something that I could have never even imagined. So thank you to Dennis. Thank you to everyone here. Keep on making those blue hats. Do not stop. And I think that is all for the evening. So thank you, everyone. And if you watch the She Show, I will see you tomorrow at 12. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you being here.
Have a good night.
Bye.